Welcome to Beyond the Board, the show where we dive into the minds of founders and operators shaping Africa's future. I am Ala Umar. My guest today is Zaeem Khan, a trailblazer in Africa, Fintech, and the CEO of Simba Money. Over the last 15 years, he's led high performing teams, managed multi-million-dollar budgets, and helped reshape financial ecosystem across the continent. Today, he's spearheading Simba Money bold mission to revolutionize how money moves in Tanzania and across Africa. And since we're talking with Simba Money, I'm expecting a roar or two in this conversation because what Zaim's building is more than payments. It's financial ecosystem that connects people, businesses, and services across borders. He recently wrote insightfully about moving from transactions to ecosystems, building from how do we move money to how do we move value. And that conversation Africa needs right now. Zaim, it's great having you here. Welcome to Beyond the Board.
Thank you so much, Ale. First of all, it's a pleasure to be part of your mission, and thank you for the opportunity to be vocal about Africa and what Africa gives through the rails of fintech. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here, Zaim. We'll start with from the beginning. What part of your early life shaped your relationship with money and technology? Is there a
I think
moment, memory, first phone, first hustle that set you on this path?
16 years ago when I joined the prominent telecom brand in Africa, and when I entered, I thought telecom is all about data, airtime, all right. And the moment I entered, the talks of mobile financial services were there. All right. Everyone was talking about that, we're going to launch mobile financial service with the Pesa brand. And that actually excited me because coming from a financial background, all right, I had this excitement that now I am getting an opportunity to learn and implement all the financial part and also the technology part merged into what is called fintech as we know for today.
Fantastic, man. Exciting times. Just exactly what you wanted it to be. And what belief you hold that guides your decisions?
I think, Omar, when it comes to fintech, it's all about the definition itself. What's the mission? What's the vision of fintech? All right. I'll give you something that has been done in Africa for the last 15, 16 years that financial inclusion terms has been spoke about a lot. All right. People talk about fintech drives financial inclusion. All right. But when you start seeing it, the drive, the transformation for the last 15, 16 years, all right, you still see Africa, 70% of the economy is cash economy, right? Smartphone penetration is around 50%. But what's missing, all right? The missing part is the why part, all right? What I've seen across the board that people are or companies are more product centric, all right? They're not customer centric. They don't try to understand the patterns. They want to build something and then start promoting it, right? But fintech has a different variable. In fintech, the currency is not USD, US dollars. It's not real. It's not dirhams or shillings. It's currency of connections. The fintech currency is connections. For example, you go and understand what different people in Africa, different entrepreneurs, businessmen, manufacturing companies, what type of transactions they are doing. You'll understand, and you'll try, and pattern starts emerging. You'll start analyzing it. That is where you start from the beginning of one transaction. You build the technology from that area, and then you start bringing up into an ecosystem itself. I'm being very vocal. I always talk about fintech. I always talk about potential of Africa because, mind you, Africa is the pioneer birthplace of fintech. 15 years ago, it was known as mobile financial services.
That's right.
When banks started to adapt to it, it became the digital financial services. And then it became fintech. And this year, the new definition of fintech is mobile first digital financial services. So, yes, to your question, you need to be in the market. You need to be close to your customer or your potential customers. Then you start analyzing the patterns. And then you start building a product that will generate traction, that will generate usage, and eventually revenues and the commercial KPIs that all businesses crave for.
You focus a lot on user centricity and talk a lot about customers, and Simba Money's focus is that. But before we get into that, I'd like to know, for the audience to understand, what does Simba Money do now in Tanzania and the countries that it operates on?
Sure. So Simba Money, all right, it's fairly a new fintech company. It's we just celebrated his first birthday, all right, and
Yeah.
thank you. All right, so we are year one, and we know that we're gonna be old in the next. We're gonna have 100 years coming in, all right. So
Okay.
fintech Simba Money is the first hybrid neobank in Tanzania, all right. We have our banking partner where we have added a neobank orchestration, which combines the bank infrastructure, the might, and the speed of fintech all combined into a super app. All right. So we have a wallet. All right. It's state of the art wallet, secure, affordable, all those attributes that a fintech has. But also we have the rails of the bank behind us. All right. So the customers can not only they're not limited to just local bill payments, local transfer. So we are connecting our wallet to transfer cross-border payments to across 130 countries. All right. We have other facilities like insurances, lending. All right. But let me give you another example of customer centricity. When we were thinking, when we were creating and building Simba Money, all right. So we were having because to know your customer, you have to go into the market. All
You're
right.
right.
And one of the transaction, all right, that I got to know was fuel cards. In Africa, it's like a prepaid card. You go to the issuer, top up a certain amount to your card, and then you can use it as you go. Right. But what we said, why this technology, this product has not been evolved to the next step. So after talking to the customers, the fuel wallet, the fuel card that Simba Money had,
When you said the next step, what do you mean by the next step that
the
you want?
evolution, the transformation step, all right?
Yeah.
Like why just fuel cards for the last 10 years, right?
Mm.
So like corporates are using it, individual customers are using it, but what's the next step? If everything is evolving, everything is bringing new technologies, what is the next step? When we had this conversation, I do lots of CUGs, or every month I invite customers, I go to them, all right, I ensure to talk to them, gain knowledge, what their patterns, what are daily routines, all right, how can I improve or their lives. The fuel card that Simba Money offers, the currency is not shillings. The currency is liters. All right.
Mhm.
So my partners, all right, what we pre-buy liters, either petrol or diesel, at a discounted price because we're buying in bulk. You're not limited to consuming the liters within the petrol station. You can also share it with your friends and family. So, example, my son is traveling and he is out of fuel and does not has money in his wallet. I can actually transfer him liters. All right.
Mhm.
Another form of currency. So I took a problem, all right, and I'm connecting it. So this is what Simba Money is all about. Our mission is to create easiness in all transactions with an opportunity to create wealth. This, the why part, for the last 15 years in financial inclusion was missing. So, what we have done for us, financial inclusion is creating easiness in all financial transaction with an opportunity to create wealth. This is the motto, that's the mission Simba Money is on. And in very near future, you're gonna start seeing lot of innovative products, all right, coming into Tanzania and different African countries as well. Simba Money is not limited to Tanzania. Already, we're providing the Tanzanian community 130 countries, all right. Either it's an individual remittance, we have covered the diaspora community, we've also covered individual business owners, all right, who are doing businesses in China, in India, in UAE, all right. So it's a real-time remittance with invoicing, taxation, and everything. Secondly, we want to go to different other African countries as well. Right? So Simba Money not limited to Tanzania. In the next 2 years, we want to go up to 5 countries in Africa. All right, so that's our plan. And slowly and steadily, bringing in the customer centricity always in the middle. All right, we're going there.
This is very you're very big on customer centricity. Again, I would mention that, and that's one of the key success, I would say, because you would gather as many information as possible to understand exactly what they need before you start building. And you understand the behavior, where they spend, what they need, and then you go and build that for them. But you've touched also in financial inclusion a little bit here in your answer to the last question. Explain to me, what is financial inclusion? What do we mean when we say financial inclusion?
Financial inclusion, according to the textbook, it's giving access to basic finance. All right. But my I always try to challenge this definition in terms of Africa, all right? Because as I said, 70% of the African economy is cash economy, all right? So do you think they need that definition to be implemented as financial inclusion in Africa? All right? No. Financial inclusion is basically easiness to perform a transaction, all right, an exchange of good and service against a currency, all right, monetary value, all right, but also gives you opportunity to create wealth and also gives you access to different financial services that is out there. For example, financial inclusion for me, for a vendor in Tanzania or in Rwanda, like a POS that has embedded financial services, all right, whenever he needs to, he should not go to a bank, submit documents that I need an overdraft facilities. Or rainy days are coming in, I want to buy more stock. Please give me more money as a loan. It should be all within a device or embedded finances, all right, where technology, the brands, the company should be smart enough to predict and give him that information before he thinks about it. All right. For example, I'm a vendor in Rwanda in Tanzania, and I get a notification on my device saying that December, Christmas is coming in. These are your purchase patterns. These are the increased stock levels that you should buy. This is your current cash balance. Do you want to apply for additional loan to buy? All right. So this is financial inclusion, where my financial inclusion is all the data, all the financial aspect is an input for me to take decision more proactively. This is what financial inclusion is.
Hmm,
All
hmm.
right. Second example, for a student, for student loans, for example. All right. Like I entered a college degree with my parents supporting my education, and I'm doing some kind of a freelancer job as well. My data should be captured by the brand, all right, by a fintech provider or a bank, all right, with the right technology, all right. I'm able to get a student loan, and then I have another couple of years, all right, to pay it off. So being proactive, there are lots of great examples by brands I have already worked with, all right. The best use case is that me and Ale are sitting at the restaurant and it's my treat. My budget was $100. Ale has ordered a dessert and now I'm $20 short, all right. The moment the bill comes in, I tap my smartphone. It automatically says that you're $20 short. Do you want to take an overdraft facility? Habit forming, lifestyles transforming products. That is what financial inclusion is, with the spice of customer centricity.
It's very powerful. You've said something really powerful, and I think every founder and those who are building need to think about it. Basically, you're one step ahead of the customer. Why? Because you understand exactly what the next move the customer will be making and you accommodate for that. Inclusion also means access, right? For small businesses, for example, small, medium sized businesses. What's a realistic step that helped small merchant participate in, digital ecosystem without feeling overwhelmed by technology and steps that they need to take?
I think Africa is very adaptable. Right, Africa has done a lot to touch technology and customized technology to touch all the aspect of an ecosystem. I'll give you an example. Digital financial services are run in two models: app and USSD, smartphones and feature phones, right? Same functionality. You can check your balance, you can send payments. Accessibility depends on your own go to market playbook, right? Accessibility depends on the education. I'll give you an example. When you were in telecom, all right, one of us, our target was to increase smartphone penetration, right? And I'm giving you a real example, all right. For first 2 months, our smartphone sales at stores were really low. We had a very nice smartphone on an experience table with a price, right? Like, and it can be if you're a prepaid customer, you have to buy full amount. If you are a postpaid customer, you can get a plan out, right? And if you compare at that time, we were like really affordable smartphone, good smartphone, right? But the sales was not coming in. So when we were sitting in a war room, all right, I took an initiative and I went to the customers and I said, why people are not buying? So there was 1 week I was moving around the stores and understanding why maybe the position of the experience table is not right, maybe the branding is not right. What I found out, people don't buy phones with price tags, all right? They want to buy phone depending on features, all right?
Mm, mm,
Like forget about megapixel, all right? Because that's what Africa lacks in accessibility. Is educating the right segment in the right way, right? For example, one smartphone, I just put it as a best for gaming, nothing
mm,
else. One phone, I said best for YouTube, all right? And this is where the sales of devices started to increase. So accessibility is not a problem in Africa because technology wise, I think all 360-degree USSD smartphone, as I mentioned, like for example, the banks have started to operate an agency banking model. I think you will never find it across the globe, but you'll find it in Africa where banks, rather than having branches, they have moved their branches on a street under an umbrella, right?
yeah, yeah.
So accessibility is never a problem in Africa. 15 years ago or 10 years ago, that would have been a problem because at that time people were understanding the landscape. Right now, the education and the mode of education to the targeted audience is what is missing or what is inefficient, which act like an input to your go-to-market playbook. I think
Mm.
that's the problem. Accessibility is not a problem.
So accessibility is not a problem, and fintechs will be able to adapt to what the customers need, right? How do fintechs and those who are coming up with solutions reach the customers
I
and
think
provide their services?
I think I'll tell you one thing. Fintechs right now, it's a more comprehensive discussion. Fintech today in Africa, the startups. Unfortunately, the dilemma is that they have become trend chasers. They are working on optics rather than focusing on customers, bringing in what customer wants, right? Like, for example, there is a company who's claiming that in the next 6 months, we're going to make a corridor, 100 million corridor, all right? Or like worth of remittance. There's another company claiming, saying that we have crossed $2 billion in transactions, right? But that is not what a fintech should do to provide products. As I said, I've been fortunate enough to be part of very big institutes, fortunate trained by strong leaders and mentors. I'm sure you have done your job as well in different institute. All right. So there was the moment you used to get hired, there was a question, what is your 30, 60, 90 days plan? I think this is what a fintech should do before even building. First 30 day, be in the market. All right. As I said, understand the patterns, understand the connections, bring to the table. Every page should have, like, today, I have visited a manufacturing company. This is their process. Goods are formed, then it is distributed to a wholesaler. What's the process between the factory and a wholesaler? Then next day I went to the wholesaler. What is the process between a wholesaler to a distributor? Then distributor to a retailer. All right. You'll start seeing patterns emerging. You'll start documenting the process. And as you meet people conducting that particular process, they'll give you lots of inputs. All right. So that is your first 30 days. The next 30 days, this is where you start with your building team, your engineering team, all right? And then you build up a product that satisfies one relation. It can be either a manufacturing to a distributor or distributor to a wholesaler, whatever you are comfortable with. And then you start growing your product to adapt to the entire value chain itself. I think this is what techs who are really, really successful, they're actually implementing this formula. Not focused in building something, right? Like, like I'll give you an example. Every country in Africa has more than 20 fintechs have a wallet. So wallet should not be like always reinventing the wheel. Let's go beyond that, right? This is an industry that is not being tapped, and it is one of the industry that is the most cash intensive in Africa. There's a huge volume of cash flowing back and forth. This is what I believe fintech should understand.
So you think there should be a solution when it comes to manufacturing then? Yeah.
As I said, connection and patterns understanding. Like they are the things, and I always tell fintechs, do, like, like, if, like, mostly I think that comes from other successful startups where graduates were from an engineering background. They came in, they actually made a product, and the product started to scale. All right, I'll give you an example of OpenAI. All right, OpenAI became huge. All right, but what did the CEO said? I have no idea how to recognize revenue. I know I built something. The usage is there, the traction is there, but I'm gonna figure out revenue afterward. Right? And then when he hired his board of directors, this is where the revenue model came in. In Africa, the fintechs need to understand this. Right?
Value.
Like, yeah, it's actually value, focusing on the customers first, all right, and then building something. All right. Do not be a trend chaser. All right. Because behind a trend, there's a 3 years hardship that the company has actually gone through. All right. So don't tell your team or don't put yourself to an impossible task that, if certain company can do 100 million worth of corridor, remittance corridor, I'm going to do that in 6 months or 8 months. Because fintech has, the currency is connection, but the underlying thing is trust, is transparency, right? Go out there, meet people in the banking industry. Africa is full of tribes, full of community based engagement. You can easily get yourself in front of a senior manager of a bank, of a telecom, and they will talk to you. They will try to help you. All right. It's, do not just, say that, I've just graduated, let me build this, and
Let me,
then I'm
yeah.
start finding customers.
This is the issue there. I think we, as product managers, use a lot of assumptions and then build. When you come to the market, nobody's using that product because you did not ask your expected clients or customers will be using the product. We talked in our last conversation around, we touched a bit on the potential of Africa, where you see Africa, you know, you as someone who've developed products, worked in different regions, the States, Pakistan, the Middle East, you understand the global market when it comes to fintech. Why did you choose to start Simba Money in Tanzania, in Africa?
I always tell this to my colleagues, my stakeholders, that Africa, as of today, is the only continent that gives every businessman a blank canvas. Right? It it entirely dependent on my palettes. I can paint a picture of gray colors. All right. If I have multicolors, I have multiple resources, I can paint a more colorful picture. But every entrepreneur gets a blank canvas. All right. So one thing is that for sure. All right. That's why Simba Money is being rooted within Tanzania, within Africa. You get to experiment, be bold, be adventurous when it comes to fintech in Africa. Your fintech is only driven by features, right? Like, for example, it was started with just P2P, then it came to bill payment, then NFC payments came in. NFC was on smartphone, then it converted to a smartwatch, then it converted into a ring. Now it's biometric, and now everyone is talking about stable coins, crypto,
Hmm.
all right, trading, and everything. Features, all right? It's like horizontal, not vertical, horizontal growth. But in Africa, having a fintech, you can have multiple verticals. If you want to go, so for example, if you are a B2B fintech provider, you can do wallet as a service, all right, which makes other fintech provider use your wallet technology. All right. You can do lending as a service. You can provide banks, mobile financial service providers, your scorecards, all right, your loan management system, or you can do embedded finances. All right. But if secondly, that is one vertical. Second vertical, you go to B2C, right, where you want to acquire and have direct relationship with customers. All right. So your wallet is the basic hook, affordability, transferability, trustworthy, and easy to download, easy to
Yeah.
act, right? But then you start adding partnership. Why partnership? Because that shows the potential of ecosystem that you're building up.
Hmm.
All right. Like how many banks you have onboarded, how many remittance partners that you have onboarded, where your wallet just limited to Tanzania or any specific country, or it's a global wallet. And slowly, steadily, as you bring your customer from transaction to habit to lifestyle, all right, then you can start bringing in crypto, trading opportunity, stock trading. And the third vertical is integrated services, for example, right?
Yeah.
Where you can be a B2C to X, right? You can work with governments for grant distribution. You can have clusters or universities, or you can develop rails where fees or tuition fees, government grants, all right, government payments can be actually implemented. So as I said, the canvas is blank. It is entirely dependent on your palette resources, which picture you want to draw. And that's the beauty of Africa. Like, for my message to every fintech is that stop building first. Think about patterns, think about customers, and start building an ecosystem. Talk to potential partners, talk to marketing agency. Like, people say that in western culture of startups are like, you don't need to hire operation team, you don't need to hire financial team, create, build, launch, and then figure it out later. But in Africa, this is important. Build the right governance model. Bring the customer to the center. You need a strong consumer understanding personnel who creates surveys, who goes to the market, and you as a founder, for first 30 days, you should be in the market. It will give you that all requirements, and it will actually gauge your skills as well, whether you want to be a founder or not. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's either two-way street. Either you say that yes, I can be a founder, I can create this, right? But some incident will say no, I don't have those skills right now. Either I need to go to an institute first, all right? Let me find a job like and for in a bank or in a fintech company. Let me learn those skills, all right? And then I'll be a founder. Because being a founder is a decision. But to start that journey, all right, you need to have the right resources, right skills, all right, to actually be a founder. Potential Africa will be the pioneer, all right, in near future. There's a prediction in the next 3 years, 75% smartphone penetration will achieve, all right. Cash economy will drop to around 50 to 40%. Right now, it's around 70%. And why is that? Because people have started to understand why ecosystem creation is important. You cannot create a product in isolation. You need to form the currency of fintech, that is connections.
That's right.
You need to connect people through your product. And that is what Africa is all about.
And in the article you've wrote, I think a couple of days ago, you you mentioned that in practical ways, what are the things that you think fintechs across Africa, steps that they need to take right now to create that value system?
I think the first step is early on bring in partners, local and international, understand and build an ecosystem. An ecosystem can be between 10 individuals, seller, buyer, facilitator. That's an ecosystem. And it can be regional specific, it can be community specific. An ecosystem can be country specific and then continent specific. Start talking to potential partners. First of all, your partners should buy into your vision and mission.
Mm,
If you are able to convince them, you can create a better product, you can actually get early traction because your partners will give you what is missing in your resource kit itself.
that's right.
For example, I always emphasize go and meet banks. Banks will help you on the compliance side. They'll help you understand the traditional banking way and they will help you understand what are the gaps. In Africa, banks and fintechs have two different verticals. One is the urbanization banking part, and the second is the rural part, all right, the
Mm,
villages and the outskirts of the country, all right. Right now, one of the potential gray area for banks is that how to merge that, how to provide a modern spender, all right, the same thing, all right, in city, and also provide the same thing to a farmer in the rural areas,
exactly.
all right. Gray area, potential opportunity areas with different industrial experts. In Africa is super easy to connect. All right. Every day, go to LinkedIn, request 10 connections, say that you want to be helped. It's really good to ask. You'll get lots of inputs. Get your data first, as I said, 30, 60, 90 days, and you're going to create a better product, better transaction, and stop being a trend chaser. All right. VCs in Africa has done that. VCs are moving away, right? Because they're not able to understand how Africa operates. People, entrepreneurs who are coming from Western universities, Africans are the only entrepreneurs getting funded by Western VCs. All right?
Mm, mm,
But African entrepreneurs, they are trying to, why they don't get investment? Because they're trying to serve and satisfy the VC. They're not trying to serve their
the
customers.
customers, you're right.
Right? So VC wants CAC to be low, VC want traction, active, all KPIs. Telecom is an industry that eats, live, breathe KPIs. Right?
Hmm.
They have started to transform from 27 KPIs to few of North Stars. All right. And why entrepreneurs, startups, early startups I've seen, like, they've started to modify their entire strategy, all right, to satisfy a VC. All right. It has to be in a different way. A startup in Africa should not only serve his customers, all right, but also educate potential VCs. This is Africa.
It's a completely
These are my
different landscape.
so it's like this is how Africa works. These are my research. These are my data patterns. Because of these data patterns, this is the product that I've created. After the research, the bidding quality, see my traction. I'm getting early adopters. I'm getting referrals. I'm getting people who wants to use my product. They are actually recommending, and that is where you start seeing trust from VCs coming in.
Yeah, and
But it's not the fault of VCs as well. They're meeting you online, all right, you have your form, you have your KPIs. That's not their fault as well. But entrepreneurs need to understand, they need to educate. Do not sell Africa, educate Africa. That's my statement to current founders of fintech and future founders of fintech. Do educate Africa. Only educate about a topic if you have the ability to learn about that topic.
exactly.
That's
You're
it.
absolutely right, and we've touched in a similar line of discussion previously with the leader who's also in fintech in Africa. And what we talked about is that sometimes you see founders who have no understanding of the needs and landscape of Africa bring an idea working in the West or elsewhere, and they will just try come and implement and force this idea into people in Africa, and that's completely wrong, because the landscape is different. There may be language needs, accessibility needs that you're not aware of. So I strongly agree with you on that.
That's why I said stop being a trend chaser.
That's right.
Like, do not be a trend chaser. And I've seen that, like the best example all I hear is virtual cards.
Mm,
All right. Virtual cards are a big hit in Western world. Right. Africa, no. Right. So banks were smart enough, all right, to actually modify it because they said, why virtual cards are not moving ahead, all right? Because if we are targeting the modern spender, or Africa has the highest population of modern spenders
mm-hmm.
who want to spend, all right, who wants to consume, all right. And I think this is a plus sign for any entrepreneur to start their business. Coming back to the bank example, all right, they said why this is not penetrating, all right, and that they found out that it's quite complicated. It's the charges are quite high, all right. You know what they did? They said no virtual card, prepaid cards. If you want to do one transaction, say pay your Netflix, pay your Amazon, all right, or you want to buy some Google tools, or you want to buy some tools, all right, let's issue 1 month prepaid card, 2 months prepaid card, and maximum up to 3 months prepaid card. You can preload it with your shillings amount. They convert it into a dollar, all right, so that you can consume. And that is slowly penetrating the market. All right.
Mm.
So as I said, stop being a trend chaser. Sit with your customers. They will give you lots of inputs. They don't want wallets to be just a saving portion or just to pay their electricity bill or transfer it to their support staff. They really want to use and educate you what is their demand around a digital wallet itself. And then now it's up to you, your partners, your team, your resources to create supply products to fulfill those demands. And that's the success formula for fintech.
Zaim, it's very insightful, and I really hope that this is our second conversation. There will be more conversations that you and I will have. I have enjoyed this discussion. Thanks for going beyond the board with us. I'll leave the links in the show notes below to find more about Simba Money and what they're doing in Tanzania, their plans around Africa. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Board. I am Allah. We'll see you next time. Zaim, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Allah.